My name is TJ Rumler. I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I serve as the trauma-informed specialist for On Track Greenville. One of the interesting things about trauma-informed practices is that there is no singular agreed upon definition for what that means. But what I'll tell you is that through all the programs that you'll find and all the information and language that you're going to see floating around, there's some common threads. So what I'll say is that trauma-informed practices is kind of like the plate for everything that we should do. It is the lens, if you will, that we should lead with everything that we do for students and staff alike. And the two common threads that you're going to find is that it prioritizes safety and connection. So everything that we do, we have to make sure that everybody's feeling safe, both psychologically and physically, and that they feel connected to each other and to the environment that's around them. And if we start from that, then we're doing a great job at moving towards being trauma-informed. So one framework I like to use when I'm discussing trauma-informed practices is the SAMHSA, which is a federal agency that governs and funds a lot of programming around substance abuse and mental health treatment. SAMHSA uses what they call the 4 R's of trauma-informed practices. We want to realize when we're seeing symptoms of trauma and how they can show up in behavior and relationships and patterns and things like that. We want to recognize that trauma is a thing. Once we recognize and realize, we want to be able to respond by changing our policies and our practices to treat people in a way that is safe and, again, that builds connection. And then lastly, we want to resist re-traumatizing anyone. And we can do that through making sure that we have holistic whole child approaches to discipline and things like that, and allowing for staff to practice self-care to make sure that we can be regulated. So one thing that a school can do to be trauma-informed is to simply start with some basic education, some professional development for their staff on what is trauma, what does it look like, and how can we best serve students who have experienced it. Social emotional learning is another one of those things that is so big, it's hard to answer it in one quick soundbite. But in a nutshell, it is modeling and teaching skills to students and, again, to ourselves as adults that allow us to grow in areas of self-development, self-management, understanding of how to regulate our own bodies and our emotions, and also to grow in emotional intelligence in the way that we relate to people in our lives and to have healthy relationships. Self-care is work. That is not an example that a lot of people are going to tell you. Self-care, I think a lot of times is misrepresented. I'm quoting someone here, but I can't remember who it is. But self-care is not just salt baths and chocolate cake, but it is building a life that we don't feel the need to escape from. That means setting boundaries and holding them. That means learning how to say the word no. That means doing things on purpose that meet our basic core needs. It means getting to know yourself intimately and knowing when you're not okay and how to get okay. I've worked in a lot of jobs in my social work career. I believe in On Track Greenville because of the process and because of the hearts of the people that are in it. I am a firm believer in a multidisciplinary approach to solving problems. I think that we are better when we work together. And I've sat in enough on-track meetings to see that people lead with their hearts, they lead with empathy. Call me a dreamer, but I truly believe that if that's where we are and that's our focus, that we are going to do what's best for these kids and we are going to make an impact. I know it and I've seen it.